are badly needed and long overdue, a controversial podcast about Colorado Springs. It's controversial because it makes sense. I'm your host, Nick Raven, and hanging out with me virtually over here to my left is my co-pilot and navigator, Emily Lewis. How you doing, Emily?
I'm doing good, Nick.
It's
Trying
warm.
to not... Oh, it's so warm. It's gross. It's so gross.
It's it's dry warm though. It's not like sweat running down your forehead warm.
No, yes it is.
Oh, is it?
Yes, it is.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
That reminds me of when I would go to LA and in the summer and it was hot there. It didn't even have to be hot. It just had to be humid. And it was just like waterfall down my face. So I'm just spending most of my day I gotta get the sweat somewhere else that isn't my face or in my eyes. Because as soon as it hits your eyes, it's over.
It's over.
Like when you put on sunscreen and the sweat gets to it and then the sunscreen is in your eyes. I did that once in Phoenix. That was one of the worst. And I was running. I was on like a 5-mile run. And
what happens when you run?
Yes, it's the sunscreen gets in, and it gets into the corners, like the most. You're like, ah. So, speaking of running, today's episode we're talking about we're talking about walking around and scooting around Colorado Springs. You've been here a while. Have you done a lot of walking in Colorado Springs?
I have.
Okay.
I have. It's being downtown. Walking is fine.
Right.
Everything's easily accessible except where there's the construction.
Of course.
And so that's being where I am is fine. I know that is not the case in some of the other even residential neighborhoods.
No.
You're walking along and the next thing you know, there's no sidewalk and you're in somebody's yard.
It's like, what's happening here? Who planned this?
The way that people are parked, they're parked out across the sidewalk that is there. So you can either go in between, which puts you in somebody else's driveway.
Yeah.
Or go into the road to get around. Yeah,
which happens a lot. Especially in a very car-dependent town like we have here, where there are houses where people, a couple generations of people are living together, and they have like 20 cars and trucks that are just chilling in front of their house or on the lawn or whatever, and you're just trying to navigate it on your commutes. My parents loved walking, just kind of everywhere, and in Germany they have Volksmarches, so they actually it's like running medallions, or I guess it was like patches or magnets or something like that. But you'd go on these walks publicly, and they would have these events, and you could get little things that you just collect over time. And it's like, we're just going to go walking. It's Germany. That's what we do. We think about walking, and we go on walks. But like all the places I've been to growing up, I mean, we walked to school, and then base housing, because I grew up on base housing, you had to kind of walk. It was a bit of a walk, so you kind of just drove everywhere. So if you wanted to accomplish anything, it was, we're going to have to get into the car. Mom and Dad's going to have to get involved. And there's probably something about things being too scary to go alone as kids, so you can't walk. So, but here in the Springs, it is so difficult to navigate this town on foot. And I am a proud pedestrian. I love walking. And it's hard to accomplish anything on foot. I usually make a couple grocery stops a week because I'm not sitting there like loading up with everything at once, which actually that's kind of okay in some regard. The people who argue against buses, which is another episode we'll go to, this is part of a series of multimodal transportation episodes, by the way, where we're doing walking and scooting today, but we're also going to get to buses, bikes. We're going to talk about rail. We're going to talk about getting out of city, stuff like that. So we definitely have some options. Very excited for rail. Yeah. I want to tell you, Emily, about one of the most exciting adventures I had.
Okay.
I lived on the West End. Okay, over by 31st or so, 26, I think it was, where it goes straight into Colorado, Old Colorado City. And I worked at the Best Buy on the east side of town. My car broke down, and I didn't have any reliable way to get between them, so I walked. And and it was the end of August, and I know this because BioShock had just come out, and I bought it the first day. That's how I know. And so I walked 9.7 miles. And I got to tell you, the worst part was coming up Uinta, and then going up Constitution past Academy.
Oh yeah, no, that'd be terrifying.
It was terrifying, and it was hot. Like, hot enough and long enough that you need a second application of sunscreen. And I'm sure I could have used the bus, but I can't even think of what those routes were back in the day.
Well, that would have taken forever anyway. I mean, at that point, just walk, for real.
It would have been relatively cheap, though. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that there was any bus lines that actually went out to Powers at that point.
Probably not.
Yeah, so I did that for like 2 weeks, and I walked enough to basically go from here to Cheyenne. And it adds up really quick. So I am very used to the idea of walking. I moved in a house much closer to work, so I was able to walk it was 2 miles. I walked to USAA when I worked there. I worked at Target on the north end. I walked there, and those were both 3-mile hikes, essentially. And I gotta tell you, when it snows, they don't give a crap if you're walking.
No. Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. You're not going to get a clean sidewalk.
Clean sidewalk. No, you know what you're going to get? You're going to get one better. You're going to actually get a dirtier sidewalk, because they're going to take all the snow that's in the road and pack it up along the side of the road. So that then you're, instead of just 3 to 4 inches, you're going to have a foot that you're trudging through. Like a freaking dinosaur.
I know. It's awful.
Just to get through.
It's awful.
Do you have any pedestrian stories on there? Because then I'll talk about my BBW. Yes. Big dumb walk.
Yeah, your BBDW.
No, that's too many. BBW. Anyway. No. Tell me about some story. This podcast is off the rails. What are we doing?
Speaking of rails, as you know me, when I go out, I usually tend to be a little fancy, and attempting to navigate some of the streets, even downtown, some of the sidewalks in a pair of heels is terrifying. It is. I literally walk on my tippy toes, because if I don't, my heel's going to get stuck in something, or I'm going to land on something weird, and I'm just going to fall over in the middle of the road. That's what's going to happen.
That's Murphy's Law right there.
I don't mind. I don't have a problem walking places in my heels, but trying to. Oh, and especially the one, my one biggest complaint about walking downtown is some of these lights. They turn red long enough for you to get maybe halfway into the intersection. And and the little hand is already flashing at you. So you're either going to hold up traffic, or you're going to get run over, because they're going to run you over.
Yes.
People don't care if you're in a crosswalk. They're going to run you over.
I'm bringing up a map, too, while you're getting that there.
The little crosswalks that we have here by the house, people are actually supposed to stop when they see somebody at that crosswalk.
Right.
I've had somebody stop maybe 3 times in 2 years. And even they come to a screeching halt, like, oh my gosh.
I wasn't expecting this.
Yeah, it's like, well, I mean, I'm not hiding, but also, can you not run me over?
That'd be pretty great. I've noticed that a lot with people turning right.
Oh.
Because, I actually had that the other day. I was going down to the store, and my signal to cross the street had come on, and they just pull out in front of me, and where are they looking? They're looking the other way to cross traffic. And it's like, what in the actual heck is going on here? I'm sorry. I'm trying to bring up this map because that's going to frame so much of what I want to talk about next. I've got plenty of pictures of the sesquicentennial. That was fun to walk around. I did a lot of walking that day.
Well, yeah, and that's the other thing is we talked about the people turning right. You know, I'm not a small person. My dog is not small. He's the size of, almost a regular sized human being. And
he's a small bear.
We have been almost hit 3 separate times crossing the street when, they're watching us cross from the far side. So it's not like I just jump out in front of them. We're already crossing the streets. Mm-hmm. And here they come to run us over.
Right. And I think there's a distracted bit of that too.
Yeah, but then they look at me like, oh, what are you doing in the middle of the road? I have a light that says I can go. That's what I'm doing. The first time it happened, I'm not proud of it, but I kind of am a little. Uh-huh. First time it happened, it was I want to say it was last like November-ish time frame. And Oliver and I are out, we're walking, we're crossing the street, it was one of the super cold days. Mm-hmm. We didn't have any snow, of course, but and we're walking across, and this car just turns literally almost right into it. We're almost even with this car when it turns. Mm-hmm. And they slam on their brakes. The dude behind the wheel is, give me this kind of thing. Like, what are you doing? I turned around. I smacked my hands on the hood of the car.
Show him who's boss.
And I was like, I'm walking here.
Yeah.
And he, flips me off and stuff. And I'm like, you know what? I should just stand here.
Yeah. There is philosophically, and this is something I've come to realize more and more, because when you live next to an arterial like Academy or something like that, they especially watching YouTube channels like Not Just Bikes, and a lot of people are getting into the new transportation, urbanism, things like that. But you have this huge stretch of real estate that is essentially a death zone. Yes. It is a concrete death. You can't do anything. And it's like, how does that make sense? Because when they were building this country, when they were laying these things out, even when Colorado Springs was founded, they made these extra wide roads ahead of the automobile, but so that people could come through and stuff like that. And now you have erected these massive zones all around town where it may as well just be like piranhas in a deep pool, electrified, where it's like you can't exist here.
With lasers on their heads.
Right, yeah, freaking laser beams on their head. And you're wondering, like why people wonder why jaywalking should be legal or decriminalized, and why you have sections of, like, say, South Academy, especially in the Southeast, where it's a quarter mile or longer, and the cars in there are going like 50, 60 miles per hour.
Easily.
Screeching across there. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I have to get to the other side so I can go to work. Yeah. But there's no pedestrian access whatsoever. So I have a lot less mercy for these people who are like trying to get somewhere as they're like trying to turn right or trying to get somewhere. It's like, this means so much more than your stupid truck or your SUV or whatever. And the thing is, since vehicles have gotten larger and heavier and bigger, when the human loses, they lose substantially more.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is why traffic fatalities have soared, because if you're going to kill someone, it's so much easier than ever to do so when you have a 3,000-pound extended cab Toyota Maverick Ranger, whatever it is, XLT Raptor, than it is
giant thing.
The giant than the Econo trucks of when we were younger that are like that could be eaten by the trucks of new.
Oh yeah, the trucks of now are like, almost monster trucks.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a psychological element of not only do I need this vehicle to get to my destination, not only did they plan the city around me needing this vehicle to get to my destination, which is, just Walgreens down the street, of course.
Yeah.
We need to have this ever increasingly larger vehicle to make us feel safe. Mm-hmm. And it's psychological to the driver, but then if you hit a pedestrian because you're not looking, because you're distracted, because something beep boops in your beep boop, civilian pedestrian goes crunch underneath your tires that much easier. And of course, as much as I love electric vehicles, those things are even heavier. Mm-hmm. And they're silent. So, and that's why so many of them are now loading up with speakers so that you can, make sounds as, they're coming down a neighborhood. You've got this 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 pound, or in the case of the new Hummer, it's like a 9,000 pound truck. That's silently just whisking through the neighborhood at 50 miles per hour. Like, can you imagine living on Circle in that little chicane there, and you have this 9,000 pound Hummer running by? It's terrible enough to think. Or Platte. There are so many areas. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, it's trying to be a pedestrian in a city that was created around cars is very scary sometimes. And it is more than scary. It's difficult.
Yes.
It is so difficult. And because many years ago, I was doing some research on neighborhood grocery stores. Mm-hmm. And in the process of that, I discovered that, Colorado Springs for a really long time was being developed as a commuter city. Mm-hmm. Almost not really a suburb of Denver, but kind of.
Like an exurb.
Yeah, everybody went from the Springs and drove to their job in Denver. Mm-hmm. So
my dad did that.
Yeah, and that's or at the time drove to the steel mills in Pueblo.
Right.
And so the Springs was built specifically for people in cars. There was about a 30-year time span where they weren't putting in sidewalks in neighborhoods because nobody walked anywhere.
Right.
You lived in this neighborhood and you got in your car and you went to work and you went to the grocery store and you came home and you parked in your driveway and you stayed there until you went to work the next day.
Right.
So, a lot of the, and then oddly enough, a lot of the neighborhoods up north, the ones that all have the same named streets, which is a whole other thing. There's blah 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 circle and blah 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 court and blah blah blah.
Oh yeah, well then I grew up in Village 7, so I have all the adjectives like creative and inspirational and artistic and lovely and whatever else nonsense they got in there.
If I ever get to choose, I want to live on Nevermind.
I seriously walk by there on my BDWs and I see it every single time. And I'm like, of course. Nevermind.
That is the best street name, but I digress.
Yes.
Yes, nonchalant.
Hopeful. Anyway, yes.
We could do an entire podcast of ridiculous street names.
Splendid. Enchanted. Anyway, yes.
The kid's best friend lives on Carousel, which is off of Merry-Go-Round.
Oh, of course.
So it's
Cracker Barrel. We're going to Cracker Barrel, kids. Where? Oh, it's just Circle. Oh.
Yeah.
But look at those homes. They're nice. I'm sorry.
Exactly. Oh, jeez. Nobody's gonna listen to this.
Yeah, I know. We're 3. This is episode 3, and we're already ruined. This is the 3rd week of July. It is super hot out. There's been something terrible happening, and the only entertainment you have is badly needed in long movies. You're so screwed.
Just listen to us be ridiculous. It's fine.
It's fine. Well, here's the good thing that's fine. I actually did find my nap.
Okay.
I found my map. So I'm going to bring up the big boy view right here. For the audio listeners, I'm going to describe this, so don't worry. But if you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to put up the map here. I wish I'd thought of this before. But that is so last July, I developed this loop. And of course I censored out where I actually started because Austin Bluffs an academy there. And I planned this loop. I'm going to describe it. I got 20 miles in. It was July.
Mm-hmm.
It gets hot in July, believe it or not. In most respects. Look at this. I got powers. It's great. Look at that. Look at that. Ah! So I wanted to do basically a 30-mile loop. So I wanted to hit the West End, Garden of the Gods. I wanted to hit downtown. I wanted to hit Memorial Park. And then I wanted to snake my way through the wilderness, essentially, all the way up to First and Main, and then wind up back at Austin Bluffs and Academy. And I got 2/3 of the way through there, and it got pretty miserable. But I learned a lot, and it kind of encapsulates the issues. Like, okay, there are really cool benefits of walking around Colorado Springs because it is naturally beautiful. There are a lot of really cool things to do in town, especially when you do get downtown and in and around. There's a lot of natural beauty, stuff like that. But there are opportunities to improve. And one of them is I totally did not get to use the massive self-cleaning toilets that they had just installed. So that was a bummer. Yeah, it was so rude. So
very rude.
Very.
Where did they put those?
It's in Bancroft Park.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Old Colorado City, if you're not in the know. So hang on. So I'm going to describe my journey here. I'm going to try and timestamp it best I can. I'm using my photos, which unfortunately I'm not sharing with you. But you will understand as I go along. So I left the house. Yeah, I left the house at 6:30. I knew I needed to start early, right? I knew it was going to be warm. I didn't expect it to get, oppressive. And I wore a big shirt so that I could sweat. Because I am a big dude and I sweat. So I left out Austin Bluffs Academy. And I don't know if you've been down that trail. So there's a lot of trails in there. That's where the Palmer Park area is. So when you want to take Austin Bluffs west, there's a fun little thing. Because they put in that new overpass about a decade and a half ago. And so when you're going through the hills, it's very beautiful. Going through the pass there. That's the Templeton Gap. You're literally going through the Templeton Gap. And then you don't go up Union, okay? You actually have to snake off down to the left, and then it brings you down into the waterway, the spillway. You go underneath the roads. You go through a tunnel, and then that puts you on the other side of Union and Austin Bluffs, and then you can then climb up and that is a hill. That is a hill, and then that takes you up Austin Bluffs to UCCS. And that's one of the first things that I had to accomplish. And thankfully, it was still morning. So that was great. So I'm carving through UCCS. UCCS is pretty nice. There's some trees. They got the college, the dorms and stuff like that. But then you start coming down Austin Bluffs towards Nevada, and then it's downhill, but it's completely uncovered. There's nothing in there. Garden of the Gods is fine. It's a lot of traffic. I don't think there was too many. Oh, that's when they had one of the water main breaks. So that was fun watching them take care of that, and I'm snapping photos all the way.
Now, are there sidewalks? I know there's sidewalks on the if you're coming down the hill towards Nevada from the college. I know that there's sidewalks on the left side, but are there any on the other side? Or is
yes, that is one of the spots. There are definitely spots around town where there are sidewalks on one side and not the other. So hopefully you crossed over, because otherwise you're marching through dirt. Like Nevada is like that. As you go south from there. And I didn't have it available for this, but Colorado Springs the Planning Commission does have a map where it indicates where there are no sidewalks. And it's a lot of red, but it's actually clustered a lot in the Broadmoor area. And I brought that up with the Connect COS people, and they're like, yeah, they probably don't want sidewalks anyway. And it's just, let them pay for it.
Yeah, no, they don't want any sidewalks, because that would bring strangers.
Oh, I know. God,
and those strangers might not have enough money to be in the Broadmoor.
And traveling salesmen. Absolutely selling you Kirby vacuums. They open the door and they just throw a clod of dirt on your carpet, and it's like, I'll sell you this for $1,500. Or my name, Jiminy Snipples, or whatever the hell. So one of the cool things about the Garden of the Gods is it actually crisscrosses the American Discovery Trail, which goes up and north, down Monument Valley, stuff like that. I've been on that trail a billion times, doing half marathons, runs, stuff like that. I love that trail. Colorado Springs has amazing trails, but unfortunately, a lot of them are not connected. And I'm sure that when we talk, I've invited some guests, but to talk about how things are not connected together. They're great in isolation, but not there. So anyway, going through here, Garden of the Gods, not covered, hardly any. Some hills, not too bad. First bathroom stop at Come and Go, okay? And this actually highlights a point where there are not. I was fortunate that it was broad daylight and I was a big white dude, because I was able to walk in and use public restrooms and not be given crap. I imagine if I had looked like slightly more haggard, if I looked like my clothing was if I was not white, I imagine like someone might have said something. I'm not condemning Come and Go at all, because I stopped by several Come and Go's on my way around. But the lack of public bathrooms is astonishing. I did not once have access to a public bathroom. Okay, I see you're holding it.
Okay. I only say this because it just came across the news earlier today, and that is the fact that Starbucks are closing their bathrooms to the public.
Sure.
All Starbucks are closing their bathrooms to the public.
Wasn't there a big controversy a couple years? There was something that happens, like someone was denied entry to it was a black guy, if I remember right.
I think so. Something like that.
Because he wasn't a paying customer or something like that.
Yeah, but no, they're closing their bathrooms to the public. Which is absurd. In a coffee shop makes so much sense. I'm curious as to how long before someone just, pees on the floor and walks out.
Yeah, exactly. Just sit in a booth and be like, okay, I'm good. All right.
Okay, back to your walk. Sorry.
Yeah, let's go to my walk. So we're passing by the Citizen Service Center. We're going into Garden of the Gods. And I did a cut through. So the sidewalk, oh my God, there's like half a block here where there's no sidewalk. And using this shortcut where the bus actually comes through and does a loop. There is a sidewalk, but then you're doing this weird like back of the freaking back way here to go down there.
Yes.
So I'm going through Garden of the Gods and then I'm on trail, and that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
There is a little bridge to get under 30th Street. And I think I kind of had to crouch to get under it because it is a very it's a very low bridge. And as I was approaching it, a bicyclist zooms out of it,
Ooh.
which was a little scary. Okay, sure. So I'm going along. Garden of the Gods, very pretty. You've been there. It's fantastic. This was before they were starting to work on the improvements there. I know they're close to finishing the roundabout. That was all pretty peaceful. And then I get into the west side. And then that's suburbia, sidewalks, and that. The thing about that, the west end there, though, is there's a lot of like overgrown vegetation and crackly, crumbly sidewalks.
Oh yeah, the one side's this way and the other side's, it's like a little mini earthquake happening right there.
Yeah, it's like bent up in the mid. Yeah, absolutely. And if you're not paying attention, you are stumbling over yourself and reminding yourself that you are alive. So I make it to the Safeway there on the west end. And at this point, I was like, maybe I've got enough energy that I could do the incline. That'd be fun. But I vetoed. Yeah, I know, I vetoed that. So I get to the Safeway. I have to use the restroom there. Again, there's no public bathrooms. There's like no infrastructure. Like we're afraid of people who need them using them. It is absolutely absurd. So thankfully, I was able to get like another drink or something. I think I was filling up with bottles as I was going along here. So I'm coming down Colorado, and first off, it's beautiful.
It is.
Old Colorado City is beautiful. Bancroft Park, I passed through there, of course. But it's starting to get warmer, and thankfully there's tree cover, and I get to see buses go by. That it's really just walking down the entire stretch. It just kind of gets more monotonous than anything, because you get to a point where you're no longer in the commercial and the restaurant area anymore, and it's just houses, and it's like, oh, okay. But then you come to the nook, and that brings you into downtown. Yeah, and they had just finished the mural that goes under the underpass there, which is absolutely beautiful. I made sure to take a couple photos of that. I went down into the America the Beautiful part because it's right there as you're coming down Colorado. I actually got to cross the bridge because they had just finished installing it.
Yep, the bridge is fun.
The bridge is awesome. I love that thing. It'll make more sense when there's more stuff there. Because even this Google map still has all the warehouses there.
Yeah.
All those nasty, nasty warehouses, which we'll have to talk about in a future episode about downtown. So I'm sneaking through downtown again, like no public restroom. And I will let you know, the number of, I have tried those bathrooms at Acacia Park a number of times. I've looked online. I've tried to see where they're always closed.
Yes, they're always closed. They're always locked.
Yeah, why?
Do we have to say why?
I guess not.
We know why.
We know why. So I sneak past the mayor's office, and I didn't salute him, but
there.
Yeah, City Hall, and then I head out to Memorial Park. At that point, it is really getting hot. Yes. And I really needed Circle K. I stopped by the Circle K on the corner there to get across from the Firefighters Memorial, which if you have not been, it is incredible.
It is gorgeous. It is fantastic.
Absolutely. I needed water like crazy. I am slowing down. And this is when I starting to notice that the benches, at least there, have the armature in between so that people don't sleep on them.
Yeah, so you can't lay down.
Yeah, and the amount of weaponization that's happened to so many fixtures, especially downtown, like places where you could just sit, and they've got the iron, fixtures on there to really ruin people's day. It's like, what?
Well, yeah, because even with the tourists, people that sat on these things, you're just looking for a place to sit down for a minute.
Exactly.
And, the weaponization, that will also have to be a discussion for later.
Yeah, absolutely.
Write it down.
The way that we treat the homeless people here and the vulnerable and the less fortunate is tragic.
Yes, it is.
For the sake of virtue signaling or just being a dick. It's really awful. So,
which is why them finding out about, the difficulties in walking around town, is kind of important.
Exactly. And it's like if you want all these people downtown, if you want to build up the city gate and stuff, you can't make downtown hostile to people. Like you're trying to bring more tourists in there, you have to make it hospitable so that people will know that they have a bathroom to go to or a place to sit, especially when it's hotter out, or they just need to get off their feet or something. And it doesn't always belong to, well, they just need to stop in for a bite to eat or something. Like that's a load of crap. You shouldn't have to spend money to use basic to pee. But you know what? There's plenty of spaces downtown where you can go and just pee if you wanted to. And I'm sure some of them don't have cameras.
No, probably not. Speaking of, I do need to go potty.
Okay, let's go to break, and we'll come back and we'll finish here. We don't have a whole lot on this walk, but we can talk about opportunities. We'll be right back.
I had to pee for like 5 minutes.
Oh, that's the worst.
And I won't stop talking about it.
Yeah.
I'll be back in a minute.
Don't pee. No peeing. Welcome back, everyone. And I want to let you know that Emily did not have to find a dark alley in order to take care of business.
No, I did not.
Mayor Southers would have been standing there, judgmental and patting a baseball bat or whatever he does. He doesn't see. I'm going to be honest. Like I see him in photos, and he's always suited and ready to go, and he's cutting ribbons. I think he's just the ceremony mayor now.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. He kind of always has been. But that's a whole different story.
Let's make an episode just for that. There are positive things to say about John Southers, and there are things. Anyway, so we're in Memorial Park. Memorial Park. I'm going to let you know there are patches of trees, but there's a lot of not trees at Memorial Park.
Huge areas of not trees.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was, if I remember right, there was like not a cloud in the sky at that point.
Nope.
And it was getting dramatically warmer, which, of course, by the time I'm going home, it's overcast. So what the hell? That doesn't make any sense. There are people down at Prospect Lake. I think they had just cleaned that out or cleared it because it was like a fungal bloom or something like that. Mm-hmm. So I go past there, and there was actually a section there along the east corner, on the east side of Memorial Park. Yeah, if you bring up Google Maps, there is an entire section from the Memorial almost all the way down to Airport Road there. It is just a dirt path. It is just this one sliver that is, there's no sidewalk. And it's like, what? And they want you to like come into the park and like sneak around. That is so stupid. I'm sure they know about it, but there are so many sections and little slices like this all around town. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, people have just made their own path. And
right, exactly. Desire lines, as Alan Beauchamp said. I cut through the neighborhood, though, because I wanted to see the spot where Devon Bailey, where they have his memorial there and a lot of chalk drawings and stuff like that. And that was something else to be there. That's a whole other episode there. We're bringing in some guests for that, absolutely. So I come through here because I want to go as far south as I can in my loop, but I also wanted to stop by Amy's, which is right there. And
best donuts ever.
They are amazing donuts. Everyone says, "Oh, you got to try this, got to try that." But Amy's. I was craving for like weeks some old fashions. I get there, they have no old fashions. Rude. It was the rudest thing.
Rude.
And they were not allowing people to dine in at that point. So I'm like, weak and tired and burned and thirsty, and I'm like taking my 2 donuts. I think I got an eclair and something else, and I'm like, what is and there's no so you can't dine in, and there's nowhere else to sit.
No, especially not on that corner. There's nothing.
And nothing for a while because I'm taking Circle Up and there's no bus lines. So there's nowhere to sit. I have to tough it out. So so I'm having these 2 donuts and I'm like freaking handling these, and I'm getting sticky and it's weird and it's hot. And it's like, this is stupid, but I love it. Why am I doing this to myself?
Because you're a weirdo.
That's true. So I'm coming up. So it's residential here. The sidewalks are fine. They kind of narrow and come back and stuff like that. I go to the come and go there because there's that one at airport. And I dispose of my trash responsibly because I'm a responsible Springsian. I don't know what the declarative adjective is for Springs residents.
I don't know. We'll use Springsian. That one works just fine.
Good.
However, if anyone else uses the word Springsian, you have to mail us $1.
Yes, and you have to use a stamp, self-addressed envelope too, so we can send you a sticker back or something.
Right. That's our word now.
Yeah,
Trademark.
exactly. Springsian. Yeah. Again, no public bathrooms. I'm at the come and go. I am dying. I don't know if I can finish, but I trod on anyway. This is the again, that little crook in the South Circle where everyone wants to road diet. All the sensible people want to road diet that section, but it's so fast. And people just live there. And that's pretty nuts.
There's that one house that has like all the blockades and barricades up in front of it because it's been run into like 100 times. Yeah,
there's a house similar to that on South Carefree at the end of Murray. Because so there's some huge ass rocks there.
Yeah, they had the giant boulders.
Yeah, exactly. Because I go right there. That's where my tattoo shop is. So.
Okay.
Yeah, right there in Inertia. Not a plug. Yeah. They didn't pay us anything, but
not yet.
Not yet. But going up Circle is a hill. Circle is a hill. There is tree coverage. That's pretty nice. This is actually a nice section of town. But then again, you start getting into the commercial areas north of Bijou, and then that starts to go away. And by the time I got to Bijou, I'm like, I'm done. And I was on the southwest corner there, and the bus was right there. So I pointed to the driver, and he's like, yeah. And so he pulls over, and I get across, and I'm like, and done. Yeah. So I got home. I took the critters, and thankfully the line goes straight home. Yeah. Straight up to Academy in Austin Bluffs, and I get home, and I am sore all over. It was super fun. I really want to complete that route, but obviously we're now into the season where it's a little too hot, and it'd be fun to do with other people as well.
We should plan one. We should plan one for like October.
We should, and honestly, I had also thought about like making it kind of a thing where we could like have people staged with relief at different portions of it. Yeah, just a mass organized walk. It doesn't need to be a run, but a walk. And I think that loop is pretty rad.
When you're done, we have little podcast buttons for you, little podcast things.
Exactly. Yeah, the badly needed walk around town.
Yeah, the badly needed big dumb walk.
Yeah. So, like, and the thing is that I know so many people. The idea of going on such a big walk like that is based around the fact that people who are almost have to walk that far and farther on a regular basis put that wear into their shoes, in their clothing, get that sweat, and they have to do that to access basic services and stuff like that. And that sucks.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, ignoring all the other modes that we're going to talk about, because we're going to get to scooters here. I know. Because those are geo-fenced in, of course.
Yeah.
Have a permanent rate. It is sad how poorly we treat people who don't have the means to get around town without a car. It sucks. Oh, yeah. And so when you're just a pedestrian, when you are just walking, it's hostile. Mm-hmm. And I know we're not the only city. Yeah.
No, not even close.
And with our elevation changes and things like that, some of those places are just like, if you're trying to get east, essentially to Powers, you have to eventually run into a hill. Especially
and some of these hills are big.
Gnarly. Yeah.
Like big, massive hills.
Yeah, like that one on, like I said, the one up on Constitution just east of Murray is because that's like a county enclave right there as well. Mm-hmm. I have done that hill in the summer. It is one of the least fun things I have ever done.
Yeah, well, exactly. And trying to navigate without a vehicle is everything about that makes your life more difficult.
Yeah,
it shouldn't. It shouldn't. You know, especially considering where we live. Mm-hmm. You know, everybody's, Colorado's all about, the healthy living and yada, yada, whatever.
And the trails.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, great. Build me a freaking sidewalk and maybe put a grocery store closer than 3 miles, 5 miles, 10 miles from my house.
Yeah, especially.
I would happily walk everywhere all the time. I mean, I do anyway, but... not always happily.
You're in a fun spot to be able to walk around, but yeah, how far you have to go for groceries. Mm-hmm. I get, even with like the grocery drop off and delivery and stuff like that, it gets.
But stuff like that, you get into the financially privileged who are able to do that.
Yeah.
People that are on assistance, with the exception of Walmart. Nobody accepts that for delivery.
Yeah.
So, but again, different podcast.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we're gonna have to when we do this later. You're gonna have to like write down all of the things that we've said are going to be a different podcast, so we remember, so we can actually do them.
Yeah, or we'll just have our readers coming, because one thing I thought about was. We'll have an email section or something, like a note section that we can respond to viewer feedback at the end of the episode. Yes. Excuse me, in episode 3 of the badly needed, long overdue podcast, you referenced an episode to obscure Colorado Springs based comic books. And I was wondering, it's been 700 episodes of this podcast, and when are you ever going to get to that? Sincerely, a fan.
Yeah, no, that will be Nick's monkey. That's his. And I apologize ahead of time.
Thank you.
I'm apparently very into monkeys today. Everything is a monkey. Everything is a monkey.
That's fine.
And the best part is, none of it is my monkey. It is always someone else's monkey.
It's always someone else's monkey. Yeah.
No, my monkey's not my circus.
There you go. Speaking of your circus, let's talk about scooters. Those are a relatively new inclusion, and they're basically just downtown.
Yes. Well, so with the scooters, they are on a 1-year trial. They started fall of 2021. They will be looked at again fall of this year, 2022, and to decide whether they're going to keep them permanently or not. Mm-hmm. Now, I love the scooters.
They're pretty
Nick
bad.
knows I love the scooters. We Nick's first foray into the scootering world. We were at a fancy dress dinner, and we leave, and he's like, "Let's do the scooters." All right.
Because there's a pile of them.
You know, I'm in heels. We're in fancy dress. I'm in heels. And here we go. I thought I lost him a couple times. I was afraid that I was going to look back and just see a Nick puddle on the road.
With my hat, the beanie will be just fine. I'll just be a puddle.
Yeah, with the beanie on top.
Yeah, exactly.
And I use the scooters on a pretty regular basis. Now, I use the Lime scooters.
Mm-hmm. And there's a couple different kinds.
Well, there's the Lime and the Veo.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I would enjoy it if Veo would replace their scooters with their little e-bikes. Because their e-bikes are basically just scooters that you can sit on.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like Pike Ride.
Yeah, they're really cute little. I mean, you don't have to pedal, nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
You just sit down and so you know, yeah, it's a whole different, you know, a whole different thing. But no, the scooters. Downside of scooters. Let's talk about the downside of scooters. Okay, so first and foremost, I have a map here that shows.
You actually printed it out?
Well, yes.
All right, let's put you on the Jumbotron.
Okay.
There we go. If you're watching this, we've got a Jumbotron.
Okay, maybe I lied. Maybe I didn't print out the map.
No.
I thought I printed out the map.
Can you just vaguely gesture in the air where things are at?
I'm very good at that.
Okay.
So anyway, there are parts of the Springs parts of downtown you cannot access with the scooter.
Mm-hmm.
The street where like City Hall is and stuff,
mm-hmm.
you cannot park a scooter there.
You can't drive a scooter.
Well, yeah, you can't even drive it. It slows down and stops roughly about even with City Hall,
mm-hmm.
with the steps of City Hall there. And then you have to walk it like another half a block to get to this giant pile of scooters right across from Acacia Park, because you can't drive them or park them in that area between, what is it, Kiowa and Bijou? Is that Bijou there? Yeah,
Kiowa's on the south side, and then I guess
Kiowa and Bijou. Yeah. So that whole section you can't be on the scooters. And there's a couple other places you're not allowed to ride them on trails. They don't stop on the trails, but they slow down so much that basically if you try to ride them, you're going to fall over.
You have to push them.
Yeah, because you're not going to go fast enough to not just on the ground. And then we ran into a little dead spot.
Yeah, it seems if you don't have a permanent connection or an extremely consistent cell phone connection,
mm-hmm.
it's entirely invisible to you, but it's obviously based on cellular connections in there. We were in front of like Kimball's on Pikes Peak.
Mm-hmm. And it just kind of went boop.
Yeah, it just kind of like started. It's like, it's like, hang on. And these are not like these are electric scooters, right? They've got
mm-hmm.
a battery in there. They're like, I don't know, 80 pounds, something like that. They're not light things.
No, not at all.
They're not like the fold up things that you put underneath. I don't know,
mm-hmm.
wherever you did that as a kid.
Right.
Scooters.
Yeah, but no, there are some dead zones, and I do think that it has a lot to do with your cell service. I rode one to the bank the other day, which is, I mean, it's a couple blocks. I didn't have to ride a scooter, but I wanted to ride a scooter.
Yeah, right?
So I get there and I turn the scooter off and do my banking, and I come back out, and it will not let me open up that scooter again. My phone was like, no.
Oh.
It was rude. It was so rude. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm walking home. Fine.
It's just mean. And it's not based on like your phone's cell phone. You have to have a phone to use the app.
Yes.
To be able to use it, because it's like an Uber. If you've ever used an Uber, It starts with the map. You have to create an account and do all that. And then it's got a map of where all the scooters are. You can reserve them for like 10 minutes. So if you're parking somewhere, like you're going downtown and you're like, are there scooters near where I'm parked so I can scoot into town, into downtown? You can do that and then reserve them so no one just picks up that particular scooter. And then you can do like a group rate, which I couldn't quite figure out. It just magically started working or whatever. I didn't understand it.
You just hit the little button for group ride, and then you scan your scooter and you scan somebody else's scooter.
Well, it didn't let me scan other scooters, so I didn't know how that worked. But
I don't know.
We'll figure it out. Magic.
Yeah, it does stuff.
Each scooter has its own custom QR code that you scan, and then that like tags it together. And then you just go, and then it's like $1 a minute.
No, it's $1 to start.
Yeah, and then
29 cents a minute. And that's actually for both the Lime and the Vail.
Yeah, they want to stay competitive. There has been some controversy about these things because they started out in places like San Francisco, Santa Monica, stuff like that. And people were getting injured on them. People were injuring others with the scooters. It's real. We saw it. Yeah. We almost saw it happen while we were just scooting along Pikes Peak. Yes, we did. We were going down the street, and the people that were in front of us were also on scooters. Yeah. Completely unrelated to our scooter adventure. Yeah, our adventure. And the people in front of us were paying no attention. They come up to a little intersection-y bit with the sidewalk. Yeah. And almost have a head-on collision with another group of scooterers. Who are emerging from around the corner. Yeah. Yeah. You have to, like anything, you have got to pay attention to what is going on around you. You know, yeah. I don't ever just zip up to a red light on the scooter because there's every possibility. There's going to be somebody that's trying to get to the same spot I am, either on foot or on another scooter or a bike or, you know, whatever. You've got to pay attention. Yeah. We were at, I was out with some friends a couple of weeks ago, and there were these dudes on the scooters. And punks? Yeah. No, not even. Not quite. Just okay. Just dudes. And because the scooters don't work on the sidewalks there in front of, that block. The City Hall. In front of City Hall. Apparently they do work in the streets. Oh. And well, sure. we're watching these, like 5 or 6 guys run a red light on the scooters. One of them almost gets hit as, a car that had a green light is going. They have little headlights, but you're not. Stay out of the road, first and foremost. Yeah. Stay out of the road on these little scooters, and obey traffic laws. It shouldn't be that if you're on the street and the light in front of you is red, don't go. Yeah, obey the laws. Yeah, it doesn't matter what you're on. You just don't go until the light says it's okay and you're not going to die. And those things can truck. They can go. When we got into the bike lane. Yeah, 30, 35 miles an hour. Yeah, those things can go. And we got into the bike lane here like, oh, wait, we're coming on the bike lane. And so we get into there, and it is one of the most exhilarating things I've done in a while because you have this row of cars that's moving within like arm's length of you. And then to the right are these cars that are like their rear lights are coming on as though they're going to come out. It's kind of like if you've seen the epic movie Tron, like when they're going down the tunnel and there's the tanks on both sides from all those games that Tron wrote. I guess Jeff Bridges' character, whose name escapes me for some reason. I'm talking about Tron. But the tanks start activating, and you're in these motorcycles, light cycles actually, and it's really scary. So you're wondering, like, you're sitting there and you've got your Tron helmet with your Tron frisbee on, and you're on these scooters, That was almost as scary as when we got to the segmented bike lane, which is technically safer, but I didn't quite know how to steer it into the zone quite right. So I'm like, shit. And these are like, they're heavy scooters and they're bicycle brakes. They're hydraulic. And you're like, okay, let's slow down so I can navigate this. And so there was like one or two times where I didn't like completely bail, but I was definitely like, hey, like I'm gonna step off of here, on it kind of somewhat unexpectedly, and it's just part of it. Honestly, even just getting on there, because you're like, all I had to do is just get on there and kick off, and then the motor goes, and it's like it's super easy. I'm like, great, and I get on there, and I'm like,
that's all you do.
It's super easy. You just hit the throttle. It's like releasing the clutch, hit the accelerator. It's not quite like that, but I'm like trying to kick it along, and the motor's not kicking in, and it's like, and Emily's like, and I
thought you were right behind me.
I thought I was right behind you too, and you just keep going away, and I'm like, So, but eventually, it starts to do what it needs to do. It honestly felt like it was in a dead zone itself, even though you had no issues. But I think it was just like the motor wasn't kicking in, or there was some confusion. Anyway, the point is, it was like riding a bike. And it is weird because it is, you are only on two wheels. So, but the thing is, because that the wheelbase is so small, you don't have the turning capabilities of a full bike.
No, not at all.
So you have to navigate that as well and slow down and just take it easy whenever you do. Those things are super fun. They are very easy to use, and they've got some like really commonsensical things. Like if you're trying to push it away and you haven't activated it through the app, it starts giving you the loudest alarm ever. Like, oh no, you're stealing me. Please don't steal me.
The funny thing about that is it starts off very small.
Yeah.
And the longer you push it, the bigger, the louder the alarm gets.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, maybe you're just pushing me for a second to put me in a better spot.
Yeah.
Or, oh no, I'm being stolen. Help me.
Yeah.
It's, and then you have to take a picture.
You have to take a picture when you're done. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't with the group rides. If you end a group ride at the same time, you don't have to take a picture.
Because there's too many. You can't handle that.
If you're on the one scooter, and again, all this is with Lime. I haven't used the Veo scooters. I'm going to assume that it's probably the same setup.
Yeah.
And so you take a picture, make sure it's someplace safe. And again, if you're in one of these dead zones, I found the map, by the way, but it's not in color, so it doesn't matter.
Oh. I can put you on the Jumbotron here. Hang on. There we go.
All right, so this is the little map.
Yeah.
And these little dotted lines are places where you cannot park your scooter. That whole...
The whole area there.
That whole around part of downtown.
Yeah, it's basically this, if you're listening, this is a very narrow slice of downtown. And you'll actually see that when you're downtown, you actually see the, it actually says dismount.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is I-25 here.
On the west side there. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is just the bit of downtown. Said all the dotted lines, you can't park there. And then
down toward the bottom there.
Yeah, it's not well, and because honestly, this is the entire service area pretty much, is just this little spot right here. It's just downtown. You can't take it to
for Lime.
For Veo, I could not find a map for Veo.
Okay, because Lime, if you actually check it, it's geofenced all the way up to University Village.
Yeah.
And all the way out to almost Manitou.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you could. You could truck it if you wanted to do Colorado Boulevard all the way out to basically OCC. you could do that on a Lime scooter, and I'm
Okay.
sure Veo. Could on a Lime scooter, and I'm sure Veo could, because that was really exciting to like just think about, like, I could just check it out and go all the way up there.
Exactly, that's something we should probably do.
Yeah, but it would be kind of scary if you're going up like Nevada or something on a scooter.
Well, yeah.
Like,
you're gonna have to have a helmet for that.
I would definitely do that. I would, yes, I would highly recommend safety. Like going around downtown and you're having to frequently stop, that's one thing. But when you're having to seed the road or join the road there, that's when it gets scary. And that's why, I'll bring it back to everyone here. That's why we need not less bike paths, but more and complete bike paths. Well, especially around downtown.
We do. There's, downtown, using the bike lanes, you go from no bike lane to here's a bike lane to no bike lane.
To segmented bike lane to painted bike lane where you don't have any protection whatsoever.
Well, that, or, it just stops.
Yeah.
It just, hey, we're driving down the bike lane. Oh, the bike lane is gone now, and we're just out in the road with traffic. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and then there's construction where there's like cones everywhere, and there is it's hard to decipher what that situation is.
Yeah, no, but like I said, the scooters, I do. Oh, the other thing I wanted to talk about with these scooters.
Oh. Talk about it.
So, these scooters have hours of operation.
Ah, yes.
Now, understand, this is a scooter. You are not depending on anyone else anywhere to get you to a place on this scooter. It is just you and the scooter. That's it.
You and the scooter.
One with nature, just you and the scooter.
Carpenter song.
And from 11 o'clock at night until 5 o'clock in the morning, you can't use the scooters because they turn off. And you're not allowed to be on them.
That's what the downtown shuttle is supposed to do.
Well, the downtown shuttle is great, but it goes one road.
Until midnight.
Until midnight. Which is, again, it's fine. It's great. However, I don't take a scooter on Tejon. Very little of what I do requires the use of a scooter on Tejon Street.
Right.
And, if I've walked all the way to Tejon, sure, I'll take the shuttle. But probably not. I'm just going to continue walking where I need to go.
Yeah. Because by then you're already there.
Yep. And it's, so yeah, you can't use the scooters between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. Which to me kind of defeats the purpose of them being, a secondary kind of mode of transportation through downtown.
Yeah, if you don't want to walk through it.
Yeah, if you don't want to walk through it.
At 1 a.m.
And that's the thing. I was running down to the store at 11 o'clock at night. Having the ability to use the scooter would have made things much safer for me than, walking all the way down to 7-Eleven. I had to pull out my umbrella to protect myself, take somebody out with my polka dot umbrella.
Your penguin knife blade coming out the end.
Right. But no, like I said, they're economical for what they are. I think the hardest part with them is because they're kind of addictive.
They are.
You don't want to not be riding the scooter anymore. It's like, well, what do you mean I have to walk now? I don't want to walk now. Yeah, they're a lot of fun. For downtown, they're great.
They're relatively cheap too. I think just getting a couple blocks, like when you think about it, it's almost like I don't know, like 30, 40, 50 cents a block. Essentially.
Exactly.
So like you're talking like $5 to get most anywhere around there, like depending on traffic and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Not hardly pricey at all.
No, not at all. And they're enjoyable. They're a fun way to get around downtown.
Right.
really, I mean, a fun way to get around pretty much anywhere.
Yeah.
And they're small. They don't, and once you get the hang of riding them, they're not hard. There is that little learning curve at the beginning, but it's like with anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I personally think that everybody should ride them.
Give them a shot.
Because, because they're fun.
Yeah.
But I mean, not everyone is going to be comfortable on them. There is a weight limit. And I'll be honest, I have seen people who do not take that weight limit into
consideration.
Into consideration. Thank you. I could not think of the word. Into consideration when using them. I've seen people with like 2 people on one scooter.
Okay, yeah, don't do that.
And that kind of stuff.
It was scary to just me being on my own scooter, much less the idea of someone else being like behind me or like grabbing my waist or something like that. No, just get your own scooter. Yeah. They're everywhere. And they're usually sitting in just piles of scooters.
They actually have little like designated parking areas that they're filling up now. There's actually a couple just right down the street, mm-hmm. where before I would have to go all the way down to Platt and Platt and Wasatch, whichever one it is, the Weber-Satch area.
The Weber-Satch.
And so I used to have to go all the way down there to get one, or just hope I could find one that was sitting around somewhere.
Uh-huh.
But they're starting to create these little, I don't know, there's like maybe 10 scooters, sometimes less, in this little spot. And you can go and it's a little hub and you can find a scooter.
Yeah. Kind of like Pike Ride, where they actually have the racks and stuff. And we will talk about Pike Ride when we get to bikes and stuff, because it's essentially the same idea. It's just you have
it is.
Electric bicycles instead of scooters. So that's part of a bigger discussion.
Yes. I really hope that this is a program that they continue.
I think they will.
I think they should, honestly. Like anything, you have the dumb ones that are going to try to ruin it for everybody. But as far as I'm aware, nobody's died on them yet.
Right.
At least here.
But as soon as it happens, they're all going away.
Right.
Into Prospect Lake. That's exactly where they're going.
I know, but we can't do the same thing with cars,
Yeah. I think these will get more useful, and to tie it in with the pedestrian access, in that as the city and the Connected COS plan come into fruition, the idea of building out the infrastructure that we need for people to be able to walk places, to be able to scoot places safely, just the idea that you're not just zooming down, sidewalks and stuff like that on a scooter. You can actually have segregated bike lanes to do that safely as well, alongside bicyclists and that. That's going to make it even safer. But we need to invest in that kind of infrastructure, tie together
100.
Trails, tie together finished sidewalks, except for the Broadmoor. And
even the Broadmoor, finish the sidewalks. I want to go scooter down in their neighborhood.
You don't need a hedge, you need a sidewalk.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I want to go oogle your house.
Yeah, exactly. And then sell you magazines.
Yes.
I didn't realize. So actually, the other day I did have someone who's like, "Hey man, I've got this like contest thing going, and like if I clean your house, I get like this many points." And it's like, I didn't realize people were still doing that stuff. I thought that went away with the 90s.
No. I mean, I haven't had anybody knock on my door in a long time. Do not knock on my door. By the way, I don't have any money. I'm not paying you anything. I'm not buying your magazines or your chocolate or your vacuums.
It's good.
Yeah, but I mean, get better.
That's for another episode. Chocolate in Colorado Springs.
That is the name of this episode. It's in another episode.
Yeah, in a future episode, we'll talk about the thing that we're referring to. But instead, we're going to talk about this.
Yes.
Cool. Did you have any closing thoughts? Any parting thoughts about walking and scooting around Colorado Springs?
Other than the fact that we 100% need to make sure that we get representation for people who are not car people, so that we can really work on the, the multimodal
Yes.
transportation
Have
issues.
a voice in there.
It's walking is better for the environment, and it's better for you, and it's better for the people around you. And the scooters, well, they're just fun, but don't run anybody over.
Yes, please.
Try to not run anybody over. Just use a little common sense. I know that's super hard for some people.
Common sense ain't that common, am I right? And I tell you what, a bunch of people crossing a street is going to produce a lot less wear on that street than a bunch of 9,000-pound Hummers.
Exactly.
And just cars, period. So we'll have so many things to talk about. In a future episode. Absolutely. Eventually we're going to run out of ideas and we won't know what to talk about.
Eventually.
Yeah, but the sun will burn out right afterwards, so I'm not that concerned.
Yeah, exactly. There's so much with the Springs. Okay.
Emily, get us out of here.
All right. Badly Needed and Long Overdue is a podcast about shaking things up in a conservative city. This show has been hosted by Nick Raven and me, Emily Lewis. You can watch the video version of this show on YouTube, which is youtube.com/Badly Needed Podcast. I don't know. And listen to us anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast. Our theme song was written specifically for us by the Knockblockers, who are a local ska band. Look them up on social media, and it's Knockblockers with a K. You can also reach us on a whole bunch of different social media platforms. We're on Instagram at Badly Needed Podcast. We're on Twitter at Badly Needed COS. Facebook at Badly Needed Long Overdue Podcast, and on TikTok at Badly Needed Podcast.
We're Badly Needed and Long Overdue, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
See you later.